Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I'm really excited to show you a couple new sets from the brand new Art Impressions Spring 2022 collection. So let's get started with the front porch door set. Again, this is brand new from Art Impressions, and you get all these cute little sentiments with this, and then you get this beautiful front door, and a lot of these pieces will cut out, those little window pieces, and that door will open as well. You get that little mat for the doorway, the welcome mat, and you get a little lamp as well. So I'm going to start off with light blue and turquoise green to start my coloring, and I'll be listing all of those colors in the upper left hand corner as we go along, and I'm using my blender pen to do some blending here. Now these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and these are a water-based pen, and you could also use a water brush to do your blending here as well. So I'm just going to apply that lighter color, then a little bit of the darker color, and then start pulling those colors in. Now this front door set, there are lots of coordinating sets that are going with this. Today we're going to be using the Easter set, but there are others that will be available with this new release. And that would be the garden set, the farmhouse set, and I'll be doing a card on that as well, and the party set. So they're really cute. So once you have this door set, you need this, and then you can add on the other sets which are sold separately. And today obviously we're using that Easter set, and that comes with just so many cute little images. You get the front door wreath, you get a little cart full of bunnies, you get a little basket filled with eggs, a couple bird houses, so it's really cute and fun. Now I'm grabbing that gray brown, and I'm just going to add some shadows around this doorway here. This does come with the coordinating die, and when the die cuts this out, those little window panes will be cut out. So you could put something behind there, and then that door will open. So that makes it really fun and interactive. You could always put a little sentiment behind the front door, or put a couple more little images in there as well. So now I'm just going to continue adding my shadows here up underneath this little doorway here. And just by changing your colors and your background, you can make this little doorway look completely different. Now also keep in mind that you can use any stamps that or images that you currently have. You could add anything you want to this. I'm really going to keep my fingers crossed that they come out with more sets that coordinate with these cute doorways. But for right now, if you want to do something a little bit different, then grab some of your smaller images. Like those matchbook sets have some really cute tiny images that would work really well with these little doorways. So again, I'm just going here with the light gray just to add a little bit of color. I want that trim to look white, but I'm just adding a little bit of a shadow here with that. So coloring in the doorways is really quick and easy. And as I mentioned before, I've played around with the new farmhouse door. I'll be putting out a video on that, so you can check that out. And I did it kind of like in an Americana theme. So instead of the brick, I did a really nice wood grain backdrop, and I added some stars and kind of used that red, white, and blue theme. So look for that video coming out soon. So now I'm just filling in these little areas around these windows. Just adding a little bit more shadowing here. And then I'll add a little darker color down at the bottom of that doorknob and just kind of pull that up just to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. And then for my front porch, I'm just adding a little color up towards the top, and then I'll pull it out towards the edges here. So I have to admit, I absolutely love doorways. I don't know what it is about them, but I love looking at pictures of them. So when I saw this stamp set, I was just so intrigued by it. I just think it has so many possibilities and it's just so pretty. Even just like this, you wouldn't even have to do anything else. You could leave it just like this. I have some photos that my son has taken when he travels. He takes pictures of doorways and things, and I've framed some of those. The really special ones I've framed. So again, with all the add-ons, this is going to be really fun to play with. And don't forget to mix and match your add-ons as well. Mix and match those sets together so that you get some really interesting looks. You don't have to just keep the sets together as they are. And you can mix and match up all your sentiments with your other stamp sets as well. So just have some fun with this. Now here I'm just adding a few more shadows down at the bottom here, and I'm almost all done with this front porch. So let's go ahead and do the little welcome mat, and here I'm using yellow and bright yellow. Adding a little shadow to each side, and then I'll just pull that in towards the center. So for my Easter theme, I'm going with some pastel colors here, kind of a rainbow of pastel colors. And there's that beautiful Easter set. So this is the front porch Easter set. And as I mentioned before, this is a separate set. So you would purchase your front door set, and then you would purchase your add-on sets. And in this case, it would be the Easter set. And you can see all of these adorable little images that we have. The bird houses, that wreath with the little eggs in it, the basket of eggs, the welcome sign, and so much more. So now here I've gone back to the same light blue and turquoise green, and I'm just doing the little pot there. And then with the beige and mid brown, I'll fill in a lot of the wood grain here. I did speed up the coloring quite a bit just to kind of show you what I did. And as I said earlier, the colors I'm using are listed up above on the left-hand side of your screen as we're going along. Now here I'm just sticking to that beige and mid brown. Now I'm adding a little bit of the peach pink to the cheeks on those little bunnies. And then I'll go back to that beige and mid brown to color in a few of these little bunnies. I'm going to do a few different colors of them. I'll do some little white and gray ones, and then these little tan ones as well. And you just want to add a little bit more shadowing where the little bunnies come in contact with one another. So I'm using some of the colors that we've already used. That's that platinum brown, and then a little bit of light gray. And if you get too much ink, you can just remove it. You just want to pick it up off your image and scribble it onto your scrap paper. And you can do that until you remove as much ink or as little ink as you like. I'm adding a little pink in the ears. Now with yellow and bright yellow, I'll do the bow. And I'll do that bow up above the same exact way. And I don't know if I mentioned that for paper, I'm using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And for ink, I use the Versafine Onyx Black ink. And now with light green and green, I'll fill in some of that greenery. And I'll finish that off camera. And then these are the colors I use to fill in the little eggs on my wreath. So they're listed up top there. And you can pause it if you want to list those colors, but they will also be listed down below as well. So I did that off camera. I just filled in those little eggs and those colors. And then I'm just finishing off the basket with those same two brown colors. And here again, the little post on my birdhouse. So just kind of a pastel rainbow of colors is what I was going for here. Real true Easter colors. And back to the light blue and the turquoise green to do my birdhouses. And just to let you know, there are other sets that'll be available in the new release, and I'll be doing some cards on those as well. Now for this little bird, I'm going back to that peach pink for the cheeks, the cobalt blue, just to add a little bit of a shadow of blue here. And then I'm going back in with a little bit more color there. And then with the oatmeal and dark oatmeal, I'm going to do the little cart here. Just kind of keeping those shadows down towards the bottom a little bit and pulling up. And then with the gray brown, I'm going to do the little wheel on my cart. And I like to place a little ink on each side of the wheel and then kind of pull it around. And then you can add more shadows as you need to here. So you see I'm just adding a little bit more and then I'll pull that around again. Using that same color here for the roof on my little birdhouse. And then back to that blue, light blue and turquoise green to finish off this little birdhouse here. So now I'm going to use that yellow to fill in these little flowers. And I finished coloring those in off camera and you can see everything up close here. So we have this really pretty pastel color palette. So let's go ahead and do our background. I wanted it to look like kind of a brick house. So I'm using the Lawn Fawn stencils. This is called the brick stencil. And I'm using some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. This measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Now we will be cutting that down a bit later, but I'm going to start off with this size just to get started here. I'll tape this down to my glass medium mat with a little bit of purple tape just to make sure it doesn't move around on me. I'm using a blending brush to do my blending, and I'm using the Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink from Tim Holtz. And I'm going to lay down a nice even coating of this color all the way around. Now once that was all set, I'm taking that same Hickory Smoke color. I'm placing a little bit on my glass medium mat. I'm spritzing that with a little bit of water from my distress sprayer, and I'm going to go ahead and spatter this. Now what I'm trying to do here is add a little bit of texture to those bricks. And I'm leaving that stencil in place so that the texture goes on the bricks, not in between the bricks. Now I've got some black soot Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. Now once I was done with the spattering, I let this sit and dry. I did not remove the stencil right away. I let that sit, and then once it was fairly dry, I removed the stencil. Again, I was trying to keep the majority of that texture on the bricks themselves. But don't worry if it goes in between. It's still just going to add a little bit more interest there. So I've got the die set. Again, this comes with the coordinating dies. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just using my little cutter there to remove those dies from the set. You can see that you get one for that little lantern, the rug, and for the doorway as well. We're not going to be using that little lantern today, so I'll set that one aside. And then I'll run these through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. So now you can see that those little window panes got cut out and that little doorway opens and closes. And there's our little welcome mat as well. Now I have the coordinating dies for the Easter set. I'm going to go ahead and run that through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And now we have all of these little pieces die cut and ready to go. So to create a little banner for my card, I'm using the Lawn Fawn Fancy Folded Banners, and I'm going to grab this one here. You see that it comes with 3 different banner styles, which are all really cute and interesting. But I'm going to grab this one. Went ahead and stamped my sentiment, and then I die cut it using that die there. So you can see that says all are welcome. And for inking, I'm using the Salvaged Patina, and I'm using a little foam dauber to do my inking. And so I'm going to go all the way around the edges just to add a little shadow to this. I'm using the dauber because I just want a little bit of color right around the edges. I don't want too much color here, and this will give me a little bit more control over the amount of color that I apply. Now you fold this back and then forward, kind of a fan fold here. And then I'm just going to ink up any of those little edges there just so everything blends in together. And then where that folds back on itself, I'm just going to add a little shadow there. So then I'll go ahead and set that aside, and then let's go back to our little doorway. So for paper, in that opening of those windows, I'm going to be using the Flower Market Petite paper pack from Lawn Fawn. You can see you have all these cute little flowers in all different colors, and then it has the coordinating stripes for each of those flower patterns. So I'm going to grab this gray, and I'm going to sit that right behind the window here. I just wanted to keep this window very subtle because we're going to have a lot of color in all our little accessories. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, but I want to make sure I don't glue down that doorway. Now you certainly could, if you don't want that doorway to be open, just glue this hole back. But I'm going to avoid that doorway there so that it will open and close. I'm not adding a sentiment inside the doorway today, but I may later on. I'm not sure here. So at this point, I decided just to leave that open. So now that I have that glued down, I can go ahead and cut away any excess here. So I'm just following right around this image. So now you can see we have that cute little floral pattern here. So now I'm creating my card. This measures 5 inches by 10 inches, and I'm scoring it at the 5-inch mark. And this is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. I'm just using the bone folder here, and I'll press that crease out. So that'll be a 5 by 5 square card. Just keep in mind it does cost a little bit more for postage on the square cards. Now I'm going back to that Flower Market set, and I'm going to grab that pale green, and then that will be the grass leading up to our doorway. So let's go ahead and cut this panel down now. So our card is 5 by 5. So I'm going to cut this at 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and that'll leave a little white border all the way around. And then for this piece here, I need to create the little grassy border. So let's just check and see. That's about a 1/2 inch wide there, right up to the doorway. So I'm going to cut 1/2 inch here, and then I'll go ahead and cut that at the 4 3/4. So that'll get glued right along the bottom of this panel. But first, let's add a little bit of ink to this grassy border, and I've got my Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going to add a little shadow here. Again, using the sponge dauber just for a little bit more control here, since this little piece of paper is so tiny. I thought it would be easier to use that little dauber. I'll add some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to the back of this. That's a super strong adhesive, and I'll just put that in place, and then I'll just trim away any excess. And now let's go ahead and place that little welcome mat on the front porch, and you can see this will start to come together. I just, again, think this is so sweet. Now I'm going to glue down the door, or the doorway, I should say, and I'll get that in place. I'm just centering that. Now we've got our little welcome banner. I'm going to glue down these two little sides here where I fan folded it, and I held on to that for a few minutes till it dried completely. And then I'm going to add some foam mounting tape right along the back of this banner. Now there are different ways to attach this. I just chose to do it this way. So I'm just going to fold it flat and then add my foam tape. So I'm centering that right above that doorway. Now let's lay out our little images. I'm going to put a bow. There was that extra bow when we did our stamping, and I'm adding that one to this little birdhouse. And then I'll have this little sign hanging right on the door, and that says Joyous Easter. And then let's hang the wreath up there as well. I did decide to pop that up a little bit, so I'm adding some foam mounting tape to this. And I also want to quickly mention that all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. And then I'm adding some foam mounting tape here as well. And on that little wreath, they almost look like little lemons. Those little eggs could be a little lemon wreath. So think of that as well. You could change that up a little bit for another type of card or another season. So again, just look at your stamps and see what you can play around with. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just kind of play around with everything, see what I have, and kind of mix and match my sets together. So now let's go ahead and attach these down. And that little cart of bunnies is adorable. And I guess I couldn't decide where to put that, so it took me a minute or two. But that's the fun part, is just, again, just kind of playing around with your placement. Sometimes that takes me longer than anything else. It's just deciding where I want things to go. So I kind of left that process in here so you could see that I played around and couldn't decide. Even this little bird, I thought I was going to put it on the birdhouse, but at the last second, I decided to put it right above that little doorway there. And this one will look like it's hanging from that banner. And don't forget, there's also those little lanterns for either side of your doorway, so that would also be really cute. So now we've got that little white border all the way around. And now I'll take a white gel pen and I'll add some highlights here and there. So I finished the rest of those off camera. Let's take a closer look at the finished card. And we have that textural background with that brick pattern, and then all of these cute little images. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.